If I had to put one word on kind of my career and the fans and everything, is I would say misunderstood. A lot of people out there, I don't think they really know my story, and I think they thought that I was just one of those lucky guys who just had some sort of personality that the TV producers liked, and I just popped on The Ultimate Fighter, and Miesha thought I was handsome or something. I got lucky. Dating her obviously magically got me, won my fights in the UFC and got me top 10 in the world. But, I don't think most people realize that I, clawed my way and I dug my way through the trenches and battled to be where I'm at. I have 42 MMA fights, and I don't think people realize that I was fighting in MMA before most people even knew what the sport was. I know how it feels to be poor and not have anything. When I was 10 years old, we ended up losing our farm, ended up kind of going bankrupt, and got rid of the farm, lost the farm, and my family's like, you know what, we just want to move away from this and get a new start. So we moved to Montana. For the first 6 months when we moved there, we were so poor we actually lived in a tent. Cooked canned food on the fire, and we lived in the tent, all through spring and summer. When you're a little kid and you're eating, pancakes for dinner, you think that's the coolest thing. Like, what? I'm eating pancakes for dinner or whatever. But then you realize when you're older, it's just Bisquick and water is the cheapest thing that they can afford. I think I was just blessed to be able to have that adversity in my childhood, in my life growing up, to make me appreciate everything I have today. When I was going to school, I saw a flyer about wrestling tryouts, and my nature inside of just the way I grew up, I want to challenge myself. And when I see other little kids crying, I'd tell myself, I'm not gonna cry, I'm gonna be, the tougher one. Other little kids didn't want to do it. Even at that young age, I liked doing things that nobody else could handle or wanted to do. That kind of really what started my whole official, martial arts journey. I ended up getting a scholarship to college, to wrestle in college for Central Washington University, and they ended up cutting the wrestling program. And one of my really good friends on the team that I grew close to over the year was Matt Liniger, and his cousin was Dennis Superman Hallman, and Dennis had just fought Jens Pulver for the UFC world title, so he's kind of a big deal at that time. Next thing you know, I'm going to this fight show, and we're just pulling up to the parking lot, and my buddy says, hey, by the way, you're fighting. And I'm like, yeah, right. He's like, no, you're fighting. Here's a cup of mouthpiece. I'm like, dude, no way. I didn't believe him. And sure enough, I was on the poster saying I was going to fight. And I'm like, dude, I'm not fighting. The promoter's like, he's fighting, or you're fighting, or somebody's fighting. Like, we're going to have problems if this other guy doesn't fight, because he sold most of my tickets. You're basically fighting. It was starting to get into where it was almost like a really big deal, where they're like actually going to physically fight out of anger because, so I finally said, fine, I'll fight. It was pretty much, old school NHB, no holds barred fight. And I beat the guy up the whole entire time. Right at the end of the third round, I took a really bad shot takedown, and I got caught in a choke, and I didn't know what to do, and I'd never been trained, so I was like trying to get out, and I was trying to spasm, and next thing you know, I wake up, and I'm like, did I win? What happened? And he's like, man, you got choked unconscious. My first 5 or 6 fights was pretty crazy, not really any type of structure. And then probably my 6th, 7th fight, the sport started kind of elevating. I started the Mixed Martial Arts Club at Central Washington University because I wanted to create awareness. That's where I met, Miesha Tate. She came in, a bunch of other great athletes came in that ended up fighting in the WC later on. And I think it was 6 months later, 2005, The Ultimate Fighter 1 aired. That took the sport to a whole new level. The Ultimate Fighter kind of gave me a little bit of hope, like, all right, I'm going to keep doing this. And I was doing it mostly for fun. I didn't think it was going to turn into at all what it is today, but, I was just enjoying the competition. I needed to compete. I wrestled since I was 10 years old, and I needed something to kind of fill that void, and mixed martial arts was doing that. Me and my best friend, we said, what can we do to train to be the best in the world? Because if we work a normal 9-to-5 job, we're going to be able to pay for a normal cheap apartment, pay for a normal car, and we have no time left to train. How can we, minimize all of our bills and be able to train full time and be able to live? And he was actually the one that brought up the idea, like, dude, let's buy an RV. I lived in an RV, 22-foot RV with myself, Miesha, and my best friend Sterling for almost 3 years, 2 years, 8 months, living in a 22-foot RV out in the middle of the woods in Olympia, Washington, where it just rained every single day. And I just didn't give up hope because I love mixed martial arts. My heart is into mixed martial arts, and my soul's into mixed martial arts. I went through so many things of being broke, poor, living on top ramen, and only making $200 a month coaching little kids, or doing this or doing that, or chopping wood for Dennis or whatever, just to pay for our food. And I'd get a fight and I'd pay for Miesha and my best friend, for whatever, the $1,000 or $700 or $500, however much it was. And then Miesha, I'd manage her and get her a fight, and then she'd pay for us for a month, and we all just kind of shared. We were a family.
And it's all over. Miesha UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion!
And Miesha's awesome. She's an amazing woman. Not even from what you guys know. I tell people I'm lucky to be dating her for all the reasons that you guys don't even know about. The problems a lot of people have with me is honestly, as much as they won't admit it, is just jealousy. I'm super proud of Miesha and all of her accomplishments, but I also know that it's different. You know, her path to being the world champion of the UFC is a lot different than mine. And it's interesting how people hate on me because she's successful, I guess. You know, I'm very successful in my own right. Like, I'm super proud of all the accomplishments that I've done. My ranking in the UFC says itself, and I've got there completely on my own merit.
For my money, this is one of the more underrated bantamweights on the roster. Considers himself a catch wrestler, and in terms of the submission game, about as good as it gets really at 135 pounds or anywhere else.
I've been fighting for the UFC 4 or 5 years and pushing for a title shot now. Fighting Aljamain Sterling May 29th is a huge opportunity just because of the number he has before his name. You know, he's ranked number 4 in the UFC. So many people are riding his hype train.
I'm a freaking viper, baby. The human anaconda!
He's just biting off more than he can chew. Anybody can see when you watch this fight that the kid doesn't like to fight. You know, he likes to grapple, he likes to wrestle, run away, kick him, take him down, choke him.
And this stuff's tight, he's got it! Statement made by Aljo!
You watch that and you say that he's a gritty fighter and he likes to get punched, you're lying to yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah, might he be winning, might he be talented, might he be a good fighter because he knows how to play the game and win fights? Yeah, but does he like to fight? He's not that kind of guy. He wants to play the game. His skill set for talking is better than his skill set in the octagon.
Maybe Bryan Caraway would stop hiding under Miesha Tate's and come fight me.
What bothered me in the beginning is that I felt like he was disrespecting Miesha. How does she being a world champion being amazing? Now, I coached her whole entire career. How does that have to do with anything and being Mr. Cupcake or Mr. Tate? Like, why am I Mr. Tate? Because she happens to be a badass. He doesn't realize that out of 32 wins, I have over a 90% finish rate.
Now he's got the choke. It is all over! Bryan Caraway!
I'm willing to go through deep water to win this fight. I feel like this is finally a fight that even though I'm ranked 7th, 8th in the world, that after I put a stamp on this, I beat him up and choke him, that this is going to be like, I told you all so. You guys have been doubting me. Here I am, bitches.